Well, hello everyone, and you join us here today with a little bit of a look back in time, because I think we did a watch brand a little bit of a dirty with the Omega Moon swatch and Watches and Wonders following soon afterwards. We kind of glossed over perhaps one of the biggest watch releases we've seen for a very long time. Tom, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yes, the Bulgari Octofenissimo Ultra.
Exactly.
If I was Bulgari, I'd be very upset. If I'd just released the thinnest watch ever around and no one talked about it, I'd be really annoyed. If people were too busy talking about a cheap plastic Omega instead of this thing, then yeah.
Absolutely. Crown guards. Oh, left-handed. Oh.
Yeah. So we need to honour their efforts and give this thing an airing on the show. So
yeah. Bulgari, let's go back a little bit further in time, in fact, because Bulgari, they purchased the Octo collection design from Gerald Genter towards his autumn years with the express interest of pursuing like the front line of horological development. They didn't want to just take the design that was famous because it was designed by Genter and just flog it in some sort of very unceremonious corporate way. They wanted to add some actual genuine value to the industry by perpetuating this ultra thin collection. So what they've done is they've created 8 now watches that are incredibly thin. I'll go through them now for you. In 2014, it started off with the Octofenissimo Tourbillon manual, the thinnest manual tourbillon. Then 2 years later in 2016, the Octofenissimo minute repeater, again, the thinnest minute repeater ever made. 2017, we had the Octofenissimo Automatic. I don't think you need me to tell you what that was the thinnest watch of. Then we had the 2018 Octofenissimo Tourbillon Automatic. Then the Octofenissimo Chronograph GMT Automatic. In 2020, the Octofenissimo Tourbillon Chronograph Skeleton Automatic. 2021, the Octofenissimo Perpetual Calendar. And now we have the thinnest watch ever made.
Wow. It's an impressive catalogue of watches.
Yeah.
And it's almost annually a new record-breaking watch.
They've got a crack team of people and they are working them hard every year. Like you say, pretty much every single year, come up with something new. A new way to take an existing complication and make it thinner.
We've had a great year, but next year I want thinner.
Could be thinner. It's like being a supermodel, isn't it? Could be thinner. So, 2022, the Octofenissimo Ultra. Tell us about it, Tom.
So this thing is 1.8 millimeters thick.
Christ.
That's a disgusting measurement. To give you a bit of context, that's the size of a credit card, the thickness of a credit card, and a good credit card as well, not like a cheapo.
Not your Northern Rock credit card that you've still got for some reason, or your Blockbuster card.
Yeah, exactly. 40 millimeters across and a 1.5 millimeter thick bracelet. So this thing's tiny. Does it bend?
Does it bend? Maybe we should get in touch with the Does It Blend channel and see if they'll do a bit of an offshoot. Well, this is a very interesting thing because that was the big question of the watch, the previous thinnest watch, the Piaget Altiplano Ultimate Concept. That was 2 millimeters in thickness. And the big question was, does it bend? What is this Octofenissimo Ultra made from?
Well, this one's made of titanium, so
yeah,
it simultaneously looks solid and looks flexible at the same time because it's so thin. It's hard to kind of imagine how this thing could not flex, but evidently it doesn't. Made of titanium.
It does look like if you strapped it on a bit too tight, you'd turn it into a Pringle. But so Piaget did a lot of research into this and they discovered that steel and gold and all those sorts of things would be too soft. And they used a cobalt alloy used in the medical industry for its incredible rigidity in order to make the ultimate concept not bendy. And here we have an even thinner watch from Bulgari that is made of titanium, which, as far as I'm aware, is bendier than steel. So I'd be very interested to know what they've done to avoid that. I don't know. I guess we'll find out when people start to purchase them.
Yeah, well, only 10 people can purchase one. I imagine it's one per customer. So yeah, only 10 people. And it's $440,000 per watch.
They might as well have just made it 500,000 at that point, surely. But just 10 examples. So if there are failures, at least there aren't too many customers they have to refund.
It's funny, maybe they had like a little slither of titanium left and they were like, what can we do with that? I reckon we can eke out 10 watches from that.
They'd have to be thin, 2 millimeters thick, yeah. Well, they've done it. They certainly have done it. $440,000. You aren't going to get many people. If you are one of the people who purchased them and so happen to be listening to this show, let us know how you get on with it. And don't put it in your back pocket either.
Yeah, don't want another iPhone on your hands.
Nope.
Yeah, so on the dial, there's a nice arrangement. It looks very contemporary dial layout. You've got separate dials for the hours and the minutes, and then a tiny little dial for the seconds.
Well, Bulgari has gone to enormous lengths to pursue this 1.8 millimeters of thickness, obviously. But the way they've done it is what's really interesting. So you mentioned that the hours, minutes, and seconds are all separate. We have seen that in a regulator fashion before to make watches clearer for reading in that, but what they've done here is for reasons of making the watch thinner. And I'm going to explain some of that for you now. Typically, you would see the hours and the minutes on the same dial, right?
That's what I'm used to, yeah.
But in order to do that, that requires extra layers of wheels to gear up and down between the hours and the minutes. That would add extra thickness. What Bulgari has done here is they've seated those things side by side. You've got, granted it's 40 millimeters, that's not huge, but you've got a square case. You've got a lot of area to play with. You want to take everything out of the thickness and put it in the area. So you send the gearing in one direction for the hours and one direction for the minutes, but they can stay at the same level. And where they've really, really used this to good effect is with the seconds. So a central second complication acts like the hours and minutes. Usually you would have to have another layer of gears to take the seconds from the fourth wheel, which spins once every minute, to take that up and over and then back down through the central hand stack for center seconds. And even for a sub-second dial, which is fed directly from the fourth wheel, you have that fourth wheel and then you have a hand that sits on top of it. That's another layer. So what they've done here is they have directly applied the numbers for the seconds to the fourth wheel. So that's just one layer instead of several.
Right.
Really, really clever. And again, with the balance wheel, you've got, instead of having the balance, the bridge, and then a shock absorber in the jewel between them, which adds extra thickness, they have mounted a direct connection between the two and then made the balance bridge itself the shock absorber. You can see it's really, really skeletonized out. It's very, very thin. Where it's applied to the case by those 3 points, there is an area of flexibility between the mounting for the balance wheel and the mounting for the bridge.
Sure. So at first glance, you might think that looks like a tourbillon that's with a sort of skeletonized bridge that rotates, but that just sort of stays fixed there, and that's actually the shock absorber.
Yeah, exactly. That bridge has the 3 mounting points, which, as you quite rightly say, looks like a tourbillon cage, but it is fixed in place and has the flexibility along its structure to take up the shock that would otherwise damage the balance wheel and cause problems with the timing.
Oh, so that's good. So that's, shock absorbing on the balance. That's quite sporty, isn't it?
Yeah.
You could wear this doing your Sunday league matches, whatever.
Absolutely. And they go even further in their thinking to try and make this thin. So a normal watch has just the one crown, right?
Mm.
And it's usually mounted perpendicular to the plane that the movement operates on for ease of use.
Yeah.
What they've done here is they've kept the crown on the same plane, so it winds in the opposite direction to the one that you'd expect. So you don't have to have that gearing that turns the direction of the crown into the direction of the movement.
Right, yeah. It sort of looks like a little ratchet wheel sticking out the side, like a camera shutter or something you'd find on a disposable camera.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll see they are exactly that. It is a ratchet. On the right-hand side, you'll see a little mini ratchet that allows you to set the time. But you'll also notice, because of course with a crown like this, you can't pull it out into different positions, that they've added another one on the left-hand side. And that is used with another ratchet that you can see through the dial. That is used to then wind the movement. So you have the 2 crowns, one on the right to set and the one on the left to wind. Now, I asked Piaget about this because, of course, they had the record previously. I asked them at Watches and Wonders what they were going to do, and they said that they have certain limitations on their design. So these separate hours and minutes isn't something that they would do. The dual crowns with the alternate positioning, they wouldn't do either. So they said they had hit the technological limit for what they could physically achieve in the thickness of a watch.
Right. So they're very strict about that. They'd never separate hands and minutes, and they'd never lay down a crown flat like that either.
That's what they said. They said that's not the Altiplano design and the Piaget way.
Sure.
But they did let slip that they might be working on a thinner complication within the Ultimate Concept platform. So we'll have a look. Fantastic watch, fantastic concept, fantastic thinking. But there is a problem.
There is a problem. Are you talking about the 10 metres of water resistance not quite being enough? Or are you talking about the big QR-shaped elephant in the room? Or on the dial, as it were?
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the way it looks is quite interesting. The watch is very matte finish, that bead-blasted finish, very angular. The QR code has an almost like urban camo effect. It feels almost like future steampunk military get-up. But the actual what does the QR code do?
The unique QR code engraved on the ratchet wheel is connected to an NFT and the metaverse, bridging the mechanical world with that of a digital dimension. Now, this is interesting because you may have heard the term metaverse being bandied around quite a lot lately, and I'm not sure if anyone really knows what it means. I don't know, and I'm not sure Bulgari knows yet either. Zuckerberg might be able to tell you, but I'm not sure if he's really kind of finalised it yet.
Yeah, I have no idea either, and we can't really ask Zuckerberg. I think he's currently warming himself up under an infrared lamp. But the same is true of NFTs. Like, I'm aware of them. In a very, very, very basic sense, I know what they do. A bit like cryptocurrency, but I don't know. It's like if you ask me how the brain works. It's like, well, electricity and that, but if you probed me any further, I would fall apart. This does remind me a little bit like when adults try to say words that they've heard kids saying. Like this is very much a marketing meeting where they went, "What do the kids like?"
Yeah.
QR codes, that's cool. NFT, let's get one of those. And metaverse, I heard that on a TED talk.
I heard NFTs are pretty peng these days. Can we get one of those on our watch? I'm imagining
a group of sort of greying men in suits saying stuff like this and not having a clue what it means.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it doesn't look too out of place on the watch. It's a very contemporary looking watch.
Yep.
But yeah, if you are one of the lucky, one of the 10 owners of this watch, perhaps you could tell us what it does when you actually scan it.
Maybe it'll be so amazing, and you'll scan it and you'll wake up and you'll be like, "Why do my eyes hurt?"
Yeah, you've never used them before. Why is my wrist so light? Because you're wearing a Bulgari and you're in the metaverse. Oh, hang on a minute. You can actually scan the photo. It takes you to bulgari.com.
There you go.
It's doing something.
God, this is happening live. We're
100%.
Yep.
Enter. Little video. Scroll to navigate. Oh, it's just Bulgari's website.
Oh, well.
Oh, no, wait.
Oh.
It's taken £440,000 out of my Apple Pay.
And there you have it. Live as we record, Tom single-handedly goes bankrupt. Bulgari, fantastic watch. I really hope we get to see one in the titanium, so to speak, and hopefully nice and flat and not bent. So Bulgari, if you're listening, please do make that happen. It's a fantastic watch, and I really, really like what they're doing with Piaget. This reminds me so much of what I love about Formula One. teams of people pushing themselves as hard as they can from a technological standpoint to keep breaking new records. And I love it.
Yeah. Maybe they could just send us one in the post and just pop it in an envelope. Don't even need to pay for big parcel postage.
Yeah, maybe. Not with my postie. It definitely won't make it intact. Well, there you go. If you enjoyed this, please do give it a like and subscribe. And also let us know in the comments what other watches you have seen coming out in the news recently that you think would make a good topic to discuss. And yeah, we'll talk about that. Otherwise, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.